Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your continued support. Now, Rigathi-Gachagua and the entire opposition took their one-term campaign to the sides of Ukambani, and the reception was very massive. One thing I can assure you, that William Ruto will only win the 2027 election if the IEBC will play some games, because even if you look at it arithmetically, I don't think there is any way William Ruto will win the election. Someone was telling me in the channel that with Raila, William Ruto will be able to defend his seat. We wait to see, but I can assure you that it's not going to be very easy for William Ruto. Now, there were several scenes where a charged Rigathi-Gachagua, took the crowd by storm with his usual one-term slogan. But if there is one moment that caught my attention, was this moment when lawyer Njiru Ndegwa was asking the crowd, between William Ruto and a dog, who would you trust? I found that a little bit strong because it sounded very derogatory. But the crowd is admitting that they would rather trust some beasts, some animals, than to trust their own president. Then at some point, I think there was a planted crowd to heckle Kalonzo team. In Ukambani, who can heckle Kalonzo? And I want us to look at the intention. Why, these are disparate efforts. Before we do this, allow me to remind you of the young Franklin, a Form 2 student at the high school whom we are taking back to school. He's been stranded for 2 weeks at home, and they're really beseeching us to come in a big way for them. Please let us not disappoint him. Today, Saturday and Sunday, we would really wish, by God's grace, that we take him to school. On Monday, the school fees is 46,000 Kenya shillings, and with some little shopping. If you can come and stand for him, we'll really appreciate. May God bless you, even as you plan to give. Let us listen to Njiru Ndegwa asking the crowd who they would rather support or trust, or who they would rather believe.
Kalonzo yuko sawa. Wapi nduru ya Rigiji? Watu wa Emali, wacha niwaulize swali. Kati ya umbwa na Ruto unaweza amini nani? Kati ya umbwa na Ruto unaamini nani? Kati ya Ruto na Kalonzo unaamini nani? Kati ya Ruto na Rigiji unaamini nani? Kati ya Ruto na Amara unaamini nani? Arambe! Kalonzo ametosha hajatosha? Rigiji ametosha hajatosha? Ruto ni mwizi sio mwizi? Ni mukatili sio mukatili? Ni muuaji sio muuaji? Lipe Wiper! Asante.
I know Ndegwa Njiru used some very strong terms, one would call it derogatory, but do you trust William Ruto yourself? That is the question, and that is the reason I have given that example. That's the reason I've played that video. Do you trust William Ruto yourself? And if you don't, why? And if you trust him, why? Someone was telling me that, William Ruto promised that he would reduce the prices of fertilizer, and he has done that, and that is why they trust William Ruto. But then it's true, they have somehow reduced the prices of fertilizer. But do you know that in every little good thing that William Ruto does, you will realize that there are some stains. For example, the fertilizer that we're talking about, at some point, we were informed that we were being sold, or farmers were given some fake fertilizer. And remember the free fertilizer that was given by the Russian government, it was donated so that farmers would be given for free. All the same, they sold it to the farmers. So when you try and look at every little thing that William Ruto has done, you'll realize that there are other problems associated with it. William Ruto continued with the affordable housing when he did away with kazi kwa vijana because he didn't trust anything that Uhuru was doing, and is building houses. But when this is happening, all of a sudden we are told Raila has donated some land, a private land, and the government wants to build in that land. I mean, it leaves a lot of speculation that watu wanataka kukula. And then before you know it, the money that was originally meant for building specifically houses will now go to building markets and classrooms and all that. And William Ruto is meant to campaign with them. That's why I'm telling you that there is some trust deficit. Each and every person was given a dose. When William Ruto was campaigning, there isn't even one person who was never deceived. The entire African continent was over the moon with joy when William Ruto told them, we need to move away from the dollar. We need to now start looking for other currencies. And they said, wow, this is the new kid on the block. This is the new Pan-Africanist. Only to realize that William Ruto was being praised by the international community. He had taken our policemen to Haiti. William Ruto was dancing to the tune of America. He had allowed GMO, LGBTQ. He had done away with the subsidies, and he had introduced high taxes courtesy of the dictates of the Bretton Woods institutions, World Bank and IMF. I remember Julius Malema had to come to the country to apologize, saying, I can't understand Ruto anymore. So the whole of the African continent was cheated. Mama mbogas were told a lot. There were times they were told, diapers zitakuja, hazijai kuja. By the way, we are still waiting for, we were supposed to have some funds. I don't know, some vehicles around. The church was also deceived. The hustlers. Is there any one person? Rigathi was saying, I don't understand how this man came to our soil and he deceived us, including the clergy. And that is why there is trust deficit. But apart from trust deficit, what any other problems that William Ruto will have to grapple with as we head to 2027? Just recently, an opinion poll was conducted, the TIFA polls, and people are complaining about Ruto's governance. There was high cost of living. There was the respect to human rights, the way people are being abducted. So William Ruto just has a lot in his basket to deal with as we head to 2027. But when all these are failing, we still have people like Oscar Sudi who believe that William Ruto must win at all cost. And I'm just wondering by what means. Maybe the way the votes were won in 2007. But then, even as we discussed that, there's this video that I also caught my attention, that some people heckled Kalonzo. How? This group must have been given something. Listen to them. Do you believe that there are people who can heckle Raila in Nyanza? Or some people who can heckle Rigathi in Mount Kenya? Yes, there are, but they must be very courageous. They must have that audacity because the consequences can be very enormous. And most likely, these are people who are given some little money. Personally, I could be wrong, by the way. Maybe that area is an area where the member of parliament is a UDA member of parliament. But I can't really, imagine that someone can heckle Kalonzo Musyoka in his backyard. Because, truth be told, Kalonzo is one person who has got his voting block in the basket intact. I don't know whether it is 2 million or 2.5, but Kalonzo is one person who is also enjoying some fanatical support from the Kamba Nation. And I believe that some people must have been paid. It reminds me of... you remember when there were demonstrations, when there were allegations that DCI were looking for Rigathi Gachagua. At the same time, the EACC were looking for, they had actually abducted or arrested Natembeya. So there were demonstrations in Madeira, Nyeri there. Then Eric Wamumbi also decided to react like a man, and he organized for some crowd to try and counter the crowd that was supporting Rigathi Gachagua. And Rigathi was clever enough. He never wanted to play at the league of Eric Wamumbi because they wanted Rigathi to start, trying to wrestle Eric Wamumbi. Eric Wamumbi should be left to the other members of parliament. Rigathi is now playing on another level. So when you see these kinds of heckling, and as I said, I could be wrong, but I don't believe someone or some group of people can heckle Kalonzo Musyoka. These people want to portray a picture that Kalonzo is unwanted. Because yesterday I had people like Mwingi Mutusi saying that Kalonzo should not support Raila, but he should support William Ruto. Something that I oppose. I believe it is Kalonzo's time. Even if he's not going to win, let him go for it. It is his time, by the way. He should not support any other person. Let another person support him. So by telling Kalonzo that you see support Raila, I agree with that. But telling him that he should now support William Ruto, no. William Ruto must be left as an island, one-man guitar. Because from where I sit, when I look at William Ruto as Baba Shalin, I see a good man, a father, a husband to Rachel. But he's not good enough to be our president. Let me just tell you. I think he has stretched to the limit. If that is what he says, because he says we are in this problem because we've never had a president that was able to take hard and make hard decisions. If these are the kind of hard decisions that is making abductions, high cost of living and all this, no. So I personally believe that no one should support William Ruto. But though William Ruto has achieved a lot, from nowhere, YK92, to a member of parliament of Eldoret North in 1997, assistant minister, to a full minister, to a deputy president 2 terms, and some obstacles, ICC and all that, and then to a full president. I mean, he's achieved a lot. If he wanted to show the dynasty that whatever they can do, he can do better, he has done it. So I think it is time to get someone who can listen to the people, who can tell the international community, like Uhuru told Obama to his face, that there are things we can emulate from the US, but there are others that we cannot. I think we need such a president who will tell the West that this is our country, we are an autonomous country. So if you ask me, William Ruto is good enough to be a Kenyan. He's just a Kenyan, a normal Kenyan, but not good enough to be our president. How I wish that not only Ruto is defeated in 2027, but we also get a president who is better than William Ruto, because that is another problem that I have. We can say Ruto must go, then we get, another person who will not be different. My personal opinion, I wish we had Maraga and Okiya Matata. I wish. Number 2, these people are heckling maybe to provoke Kalonzo's camp, then Vita Yanze. And you know what will happen? These people are just looking for something to block and say that now, moving forward, you will not hold any rallies because your rallies have become so chaotic and dangerous and all that. But I like the way it was, the Kalonzo played cool and nothing happened. Do you really believe that someone can heckle Kalonzo Musyoka in his own backyard? I don't think so. But do you also believe that it is Kalonzo's time? Usiniambie Kalonzo is weak, because leadership is about followers. Kalonzo has followers. It is only that Kalonzo cannot be as radical as Gachagua or Raila. But that is the way he was wired, and he can do better. I believe Kalonzo is approachable and can listen to people. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua and the entire one-term team took that area by storm, and people are saying we would rather trust animals than trusting William Ruto. And trust does not come once. It is something you must relate with someone for some times for you to trust them or mistrust them. We've been lied to, bana. Sometimes watu wanasoma mpaka Biblia iko wrong scriptures. And I like the way William Ruto does his things. He never blinks. He will give you a fake smile. My only worry is the opposition going to remain united? Are Kenyans registering as voters? Are youths determined that they're not going to take bribes and they're not going to allow the government to divide them along tribal and party lines? Is William Ruto sponsoring someone in Mount Kenya and in Wamunyoro? Because we still have a long way to go if William Ruto has to be defeated. The last question I want to give you as I go: do you still buy to this fallacy that William Ruto defeated the deep state and now he himself is the deep state? Ukiuziwa huo uoga, you are finished. That's my take.